What is going on? Today we're going to be going over pre-markets for this past week. Quote of the day is, "She belongs to the streets." Understanding the purpose of this again, we do this every time to remind ourselves as well. We're trying to identify patterns in pre-market to determine if open market will have any form of bullish movement or bearish movement. And so we're going to categorize pre-market tickers based on certain criteria. And another purpose of this is to already have a mapping plan of what stocks we think can produce or not produce. Some of the criteria we're going to be looking at are day one tickers only, so no recycled names. We're looking at small cap tickers that are less than $10 for the most part. Consistent volume, sometimes this is wishy-washy. Pre-market structure, and over 10% gap at closing price. So a few of the things we're going to be looking at are pre-market structure. So is it fading into open, flat, or pushing into open, or no pre-market at all? Some examples of that would be, this would be flat or pushing into open. We have consistent volume, and it's opening near the top of its range. Where fading, we're fading off into open. And then no pre-market is essentially there's no structure at all. We'll also be looking at price range, under $1, between 1 and 3, and over 3. So understanding the outcome of this is, again, we're trying to look for momentum versus faders. And so my example of momentum would be something like this, where we have clear 5-minute flags pushing over pre-market high. Would also be an example. A fader would also be something that has pretty much no bullishness to it. Like, for example, in this one, there's really no area for us to take a trade that would result in a bigger win. So with that being said, we'll be going over the price range first. We're going to start with the momentum section in the price range. So momentum stocks, or stocks that had momentum bullish setups, under $1, there were 7 out of 17 total momentum stocks. That was 41%. From $1 to $3, we only had 5, so that was 29%. And over 3 was 5 as well, it was also 29%. This is a fairly even spread, in my opinion. Usually, we have less over 3 and more from 1 to 3, but that's kind of interesting to see. And we're looking over at the faders. Under $1, we have 11 stocks at 46%, and 11 again from 1 to 3, 46%, and 2 out of 24 over $3 at 8%. So most of the faders came from stocks under $3, and the over $3 we didn't see a whole lot of this week. So now we're actually going to compare momentums versus faders. So under 1, so what is the percent chance in pre-market that a stock under $1 will be a producer or a fader? And so if we're looking at it this way, 40% of the time, a stock under $1 produced momentum, and then 60% it faded. Taking that range from $1 to $3, we had 31% be momentum, 69% nice. Be faders. Over 3, we had 71% being Momo and 29% being faders. So as a recap, 41% of momentum runners were penny stocks. This was a big bump up, we'll see in a little bit. 71% of day one stocks opening over 3 had momentum. There's such a small sample size every week, so it is hard to project out. But it is something to note that stocks over $3 had decent momentum. This shouldn't be here. I don't know why this is there. But only 31% of $1 to $3 stocks produced momentum overall. The $1 to $3 category did underperform, I feel like, this week. So comparing weeks, we have 2 weeks ago, October week 1 to October week 2, which was this past week. We're going to go ahead and look cross-board. What are the differences? So under 1, first thing I want to see here is 18. So we're getting consistent number of stocks under $1 gapping up kind of each week. We did have a few more become momentum stocks this week. This is why I think there was a shift later in the week towards the under $1 chances. From 1 to 3, we see a drop off. Well, actually, see we increase here overall. We did have more stocks from 1 to 3 in pre-markets. This could be a matter of, there's just more opportunity there. So, but still overall, 31% isn't the best. It's the weakest out of the whole group. And over 3, very similar, 5 out of 8, 5 out of 7. So this trend seems to have been continuing. Stocks over 3 still have the juice, and small shift in bullishness to under $1 stocks. So now we're looking at price action. So the categories again are fading into open, flat into open, and no pre-market. So looking at the momentum stocks, 2 out of 17 or 12% were fading into open, 53% were flat into open, and 35% were no pre-market. So over half of the momentum stocks were flat or pushing into open. We see this pretty much almost every week since I've been doing this. The one thing I want to note is the no pre-market has the 65 or 35%, I should say, had no pre-market. Having no pre-market kind of sucks because it's hard to prep and plan for something that you don't really have a whole lot of time to look at. So just something to note. And then faders, 8 out of 24, fading to open 33%, 16 out of 24 flat into open 67%. And we're not going to be looking at no pre-markets for this one. This is something we saw last week too that makes at least this style of training, of predicting, a little bit difficult. We used to have, these used to be flip-flops, 67% used to be up here, where a lot of the times the stock fading into open would just be a clear sign of negative bearish. Where this week we're seeing that stocks are kind of looking good but then failing. So it just makes it more difficult to kind of pick out which stocks are going to be runners. So if we combine the two, those that are fading into open out of all the tickers gapping up, 2 out of 10 became momentum, 20%, while 80% were fading. And flat into open, we had 9 out of 25, 36%. And for the faders, it was 64%. So kind of a recap on that. We have stocks fading into pre-market had an 80% chance of being bust. This is very true for a long time. Most of the times the stock is kind of fading off a cliff, it won't produce momentum most times. And then stocks flat into open only had a 36% chance of being bullish, but that's where most of the stocks are coming from anyway. So it's just harder to kind of predict which ones will actually run. So doing the same like we did for the price, we're going to be looking at 2 weeks ago versus last week. Last week we had 0% of stocks fading into them, had no chance of having bullishness. This week we had a couple. Sometimes, we don't want to get rid of all of them, but most of the times we're not going to get any momentum out of this. Flat into open chances, 36 between 33. Very similar to last week as well. So really no big changes in the price range, or I should say the fading versus flat into open. So putting it all together, this is the same little chart from last week. If we want to combine what's bearish, what's bullish, so if we have a stock that's over $3 that is pushing into open, that is super bullish. Stocks that are $1 flat to open are also bullish. But the further down you go, the more bearish it is. So stocks that are from 1 to 3 that are fading into open are extremely bearish. So I do have charts in general, but I don't know if I really want to go over them. There's 4,000 charts here, so I'll save that for another time. But here's the list again, and yeah, we're gonna end her